Hi, in this lecture we will learn how to run on each row of a table and do some action on it by using the tFlowToIterate component, and we will see two different examples. So let's start. First we need to create a new job under extra job folder. I name it tFlowToIterate job, and when it opens in your designer, we'll start with our first process, which is to run on list of friends that came from a table and create a thankful letter to coming to our birthday to each one of them.
Hi guys, if you like this content and you find it useful, I leave a link in the description for my full course, not too long and very practical for talent beginners. You don't need any prior knowledge, so I hope to see you there, and until then, have fun.
The first component we use is the t-row generator to generate the list of friends. The schema is just two columns, first name and last name, both of them are string, and then we can click OK and double click the t-row generator to open the editor tab. And in the first name we use the Talend data generator that get first name function, and for the last name we use the Talend data generator that get last name function. The number of rows for row generator is 5 because we want to create 5 letters and we don't want to create too many letters to our file explorer. So click OK. Now when we're done with the t-row generator, we can add a tFlowToIterate and connect the t-row generator to it with the main connection. And from now on in this subjob, each action we do will affect each row separately. So let's create the letter. You can add a tJava after the tFlowToIterate and connect the tFlowToIterate to it with the iterate connection. Now in the tJava we want to set our letter, so just before we start with the tJava, let's go to the context tab and add new context. I name it letter and its type is string. In the tJava we want to set the letter to be dir and then first name and last name. To bring the first name to our code, we use the global variable from the tFlowToIterate. You can see it in the outline. We have the first name. It actually brings us all the columns from the previous component for the tFlowToIterate. So we can drag and drop it to our designer like this, or just typing the string and then global map that get and the connection before the tFlowToIterate that the column we want, and then I add space, do the same method for the last name, and use the /n to open a new line and finish my letter with a thank you for coming to my birthday. We also can print it in our log, and then we want to add a tfix flow input to create our letter in a table. So you can connect the tJava to it with on component OK, and in the tfix flow input edit the schema to be one column. I name it content and its type is string, and use the single table mode, and the value is the letter. Don't forget to write context.letter. And the last component in this process is just to use the tfile output row to write our txt file. So add a tfile output row to your designer, connect the tfix flow input to it with the main connection, and then in the file name use the path you want and concatenate the first name from the tfix flow input to it, and concatenate that txt to finish our path, and that makes us to create five different name for our letters, and don't overwrite it again and again. Okay, so the second process is using numeric and values. So again, add t-row generator to the designer. In the edit schema we add only one column. I name it num and its type is integer, of course, and click OK. In the editor I use the numeric.sequence function when the start value is 7 and the step is 7 too. the number of rows to generate is 20 in this case, and click OK. Now we will see some more options in the tFlowToIterate components. So add a tFlowToIterate after the tRow generator and connect the tRow generator to it with the main connection like we do in the first process. And again, add a tJava and connect the tFlowToIterate to it with the iterate connection. And in the tJava, we want to print the current iteration. And again, it's one of the global variable we have. Let's go to the tFlowToIterate 2, and you see the current iteration in the flow. And after we print the current iteration, we want to print the value. So as we did in the first process, you can drag and drop it or use the integer global map get row3.num. And then we want to print an empty line to make it more organized, and connect the first process to the second process with the onSubJobOK trigger, and connect the second process to the new tJava with onSubJobOK trigger 2. And in the last tJava, we want to print the number of lines we get in the tFlowToIterate component in the second process. Of course, in this case, we know that this number is 20 because we generated in the row generator, but in a lot of cases it can help us, especially if we work with database or something like this and we don't know the number of lines. So I add system.out.println number of lines and concatenate the number of lines. Again, it's one of the global variable of this component. You can see it over here, and you can drag and drop it to your designer. Of course, I don't need it again, so let's take it off. And now we can run the job and see the results. Okay, so we see that all the letters we create, here is the names, and we can see that the first iteration is 7, the second iteration is 14, and go on until the last iteration 20, and the value is 140, and number of lines is 20. We can go to our path and see all the letters we create. Let's click the first one, and here is the letter. In the next lecture, we will see how to return the iterate we create here in this job to a table, and by using the tIterate to flow. And until then, bye bye.